Okay, good morning. So thank you for joining us today for our 21 plants for 2022. This is the first of 3 webinars in our winter webinar series. My name is Jamie Hecklin, and I'll be your host for today's meeting. Before we get started, I wanted to go ahead and review just a few housekeeping items here. So this is a webinar, so your camera and microphone has been disabled. If you have a question at any point during the presentation, you can go ahead and type it into the Q&A box. We'll either type an answer back to you or we'll answer your question live. We will be sending out a couple of polls during the webinar, which are anonymous, and a follow-up email will be sent out at the end of the presentation with a link to a required test to earn those CEU credits that some of you may be looking to get. And they do ask that you take that test within 24 hours of the conclusion of the webinar, so please keep that in mind. This is it's being recorded, and we're going to be posting this to our YouTube channel probably in early spring. You'll be able to watch all of our winter webinars there after the conclusion of all of them. So with that, I want to get us started with just a little poll. And this one is to see how your season is shaping up. So I'll give you just a few seconds here to let us know what you're thinking. And let's see what our answers are. See the answers coming through. Okay. So it looks like it's going to be busy. A few people said normal, and just a couple saying it's looking slow. All right, and then one more poll here. This one is about availability. We know last year availability was kind of tight on many items, so wondering what you're seeing this year as you get started. Okay, we have a mixed result here. A lot of people unsure. It's still kind of early in the season, so it could be hard to know. So yeah, hopefully you'll be able to have more plants this year. We'll see how the season goes. All right. Next up, I would like to introduce our presenters. Nikki Moline and Shannon McInerney will be presenting for us today. Nikki and Shannon have hosted a number of webinars for us, and they can often be found sharing their passion for plants on YouTube and Instagram. Nikki keeps very busy leading and managing the sales, shipping, and order fulfillment teams as the sales and operations manager. Nikki also plays a pivotal role in strategic company planning. She is an ICN pro specializing in perennials. As marketing manager, Shannon leads the Midwest marketing department and is responsible for product line development and the plant accession and trial process. She also coordinates work in the Midwest gardens. Shannon is an ICN pro specializing in perennials, and she was recently named the 2022 Illinois Green Association ICN Pro of the Year. So with that, Shannon is now going to get us started with some native plants.
All right, thank you very much, Jamie. Good morning, everybody. We're excited to have you back for another webinar series this winter. And so today we are talking about probably what's our favorite webinar of the year, which is new plants. So new and exciting things to Midwest. So I don't know about Nikki, but I don't feel like I had to do a whole lot of research or anything like these, because we just, we're learning about these through our trial process. I think we have a lot of good information to share with you guys today. So we're looking forward to talking plants. So the first category we're going to go over is natives. And we have a couple new American beauties this year. I think everyone has probably seen, whether you're in the garden centers or in the landscape, that there is definitely a huge growing interest in native. So we are continuing to support that, and we have a couple great introductions with that. So our first plant is SPIGELIA marilandica little redhead. And this is an introduction from Walter's Gardens that it will be part of our American Beauties program. So if you're not familiar with SPIGELIA, it is native here, but also to the East Coast. That's where the species name marilandica comes from, Maryland. So you can see this plant has just super cool red kind of, red flowers, narrow flowers with that yellow throat there. So the first time I saw this plant or saw the species, I was actually in Maryland, conveniently enough, and saw it like across a greenhouse and was like, what is that? So I got back here to Illinois, wanted to trial this plant, get it going in our trial garden, and I had a really difficult time finding it and was able to get some plants in, but everything I got was super small. We would plant it in the trial garden. It would kind of like peter along, and eventually the rabbits would eat it, and it would maybe reflush a little bit later in the year, and it wouldn't come back the following winter. So I think I tried that twice and kind of figured like this just isn't going to work for us. And then was up at Walter's and saw that they were introducing this little redhead, and it was just a super nice, vigorous plant. So much more bulk to it than the plants that I had been able to find. And actually, when I saw it, it was in a parking lot. They had it in a parking lot in full sun. So while this is normally more of a part shade plant, this cultivar actually does okay in sun as well. So in its native habitat, it's found kind of along stream beds, woodland areas, things like that. So it definitely can take a more wet soil. I have kind of seen both on whether it can tolerate standing water or not. So I would say I wouldn't plant it in anywhere that's really going to hold water, but if the soil is wet, but then, kind of at least has some drainage to it, that should be okay. So as I said, one question we always get in these webinars is deer and rabbit resistance. So this plant is not rabbit resistant, but the fact that this is a much more vigorous cultivar, I think it has more promise than the straight species. So a really exciting plant. We do have our regular availability isn't expected until August of 2022, but we do have it in our Bud and Bloom program as well. So check that out. We may have some left available there as well. So SPIGELIA little redhead.
Okay, the next plant that we have here is TRADESCANTIA CONCORD grape. And this one is also going to be a part of the American Beauties line. So we're really excited about this one. This one's actually not really new to the trade. We actually carried it, I think, many moons ago, but we're bringing it back because we've kind of seen a resurgence in it being requested. And it's actually a really nice plant, so I'm glad to see it kind of circle back around. So how it compares to the straight species is it's going to be more compact and have larger flowers. So I think, it's a little bit showier maybe than the straight species, so a good kind of landscape plant. Again, compact only gets about 15 to 18 inches tall, 18 to 24 inches wide, and very hardy plant. So again, this is a cultivar of a native to Illinois. So it does just fine with our, hot summers and cold winters. The flower is actually the writing's incorrect here. I apologize. The flowers are actually the color of like a Concord grape. That's where it got its name. So a nice deep purple, and they will age in color and turn to that kind of dark pink red as the flowers fade. This guy does actually have a little bit more flower power than the straight species. So we'll see it bloom for about 6 to 8 weeks here in the kind of late spring, early summer period. Now, with all Tradescantia, and this goes for both this variety and the straight species, they really do benefit from a very hard prune after they flower because the foliage can get tired kind of once it's done putting on its show. So we do recommend that you guys cut this one back to the ground after it flowers. It will reflush. You'll have nice clean foliage. The foliage is kind of strappy, almost like daylily-like or grass-like, really kind of interesting foliage. And then with that hard prune, you might actually get a little bit of a fall rebloom. So definitely worth your time to do that. But otherwise, the plant does, you know, reflower quite a bit, and it's a really nice native. So if you haven't checked it out, give TRADESCANTIA Concord Grape a try. We will have this one in spring this year in April. So that wraps up our native introductions. And after each kind of plant section here, we're going to ask you guys what you're most excited about. So if you could tell us whether you're most excited about the SPIGELIA or the TRADESCANTIA, we would love to hear from you. We'll give you guys just a couple seconds to vote. So just go with your gut. I think Shannon and I like this part the best because, oh, okay. I thought like SPIGELIA was just going to run away with it, which of course it does have more votes, but that's pretty interesting. Shannon and I both love the SPIGELIA. I think, you know, when we have customers here too touring, it's just such an interesting plant. So we're excited to have that added. So next we'll jump into perennials, and we actually have a pretty robust perennial list. So you'll get to choose more than one at the end when you vote. So keep that in mind as you're putting stars next to the ones you like. So our first perennial that we're really excited about, and we trialed for a number of years, is ALLIUM Big Beauty. Oop. Skipped past it. There it goes. All right. So this one was actually planted just right here in the back of our office, and we had it in the ground for a couple of years before we decided to add it. I think with ALLIUM, there are so many on the market right now, and it has become such a kind of popular plant that we were like, do we really need to like add another ALLIUM? You know, Summer Beauty sells really well, Millennium sells really well, but this plant is just so different. And I think this picture doesn't even do it justice. How big the foliage is, how big the flowers are, it really, really sticks to its name, Big Beauty. So the flowers, that 2.5 inches on the flower is true. I think the foliage too, again, I wish I could verbalize how big the foliage was too. When it first comes up, it's just so striking. Even as a foliage plant on its own, it's so big and bold. Like other ALLIUM, it's heat and drought tolerant. So this guy was thriving all year long. Even when it's done blooming, its flower heads persist. It's great for winter interest as well, because the plant is so sturdy. It holds up really well to the snow and ice. So if you're looking for something, you know, that's really sturdy for that time of year, would recommend that as well. And like I said, it was such an excellent performer in our trial gardens, we had to add it. Added bonus, it is deer resistant because it's an ALLIUM and they don't like onion flavors apparently. So just really good plants all around, very hardy. So we actually have some of these available now. So if you guys are interested, get them added to your spring orders.
Okay, so next we have a trio of Aclesia here, or columbine. So we are excited about this series. It's the early bird series. And so we, you know, have been, I think, trying to find a new series of Aclesia. We had carried the songbird series in the past, and they were nice, but the flowers could be a little bit sparse, maybe not the most intense color. So we're really looking forward to having these out there, because you can see how nice and compact the plants are, how rich the colors of the plants are, and that unlike some of the older Aclesia where the flower kind of droops down, these are really held upright quite nicely. So we'll have a blue white, you can see here with the blue, the white center and the blue wings to it, and purple blue. So kind of, again, a blue and purple combination, and then the red white. So again, these are all part of the same series. So they're going to be relatively similar in height. The 9 to 11 inches tall, or about just under a foot, and slightly narrower. So these all fill out really well, branch really well. are hardy up to zone 3, and we have red white available now and should have the other 2 varieties available in spring, ready for everybody to try out. So really looking forward to introducing these Aquilegia.
Okay, the next one is a pretty exciting one as well. Now you might be looking at it going, ooh, Dianthus, kind of an old-fashioned plant, but this one is definitely improvement over Fire Witch or any of the older varieties that we know. So this one, Dianthus Paint the Town Magenta, is actually the 2022 proven winner of the year. And it really kind of lives up to that with how we've seen it perform. So this plant definitely has a more intense pink color than a Fire Witch holds on to its color. We don't see a lot of fading. And what's really nice is when it starts blooming, it just covers all of the foliage. It's like a complete mat of that pink color. It almost reminds me a little bit of like creeping phlox, just how the flowers just cover the foliage completely. So very striking. It's kind of a great edging plant, border plant in the garden. And then once the flowers do, stop coming along, the foliage is very nice as well. It's that really nice kind of blue glaucous foliage that we see on Dianthus. Stays really clean, has really good heat tolerance, which, some Dianthus, if we have a really hot, humid summer, you can see some melting. Don't see as much of that on this plant. So very, very strong Dianthus. Very hardy, zones 4 to 9, so it takes our climate very well. The only thing to watch for on this plant is it does need good drainage, so don't site it somewhere where it may sit in a lot of water or doesn't have good drainage, gets wet over the winter. We don't want to see that because that's where the plant might not perform as well. But otherwise, great plant, 2022 perennial of the year for proven winners, and we do have some available now. So Dianthus Paint the Town Magenta.
Okay, so next we have HELLEBORUS Frost Kiss Molly's White. And again, I feel like I'm excited saying I'm excited about everything because I am excited about most of these plants. But the Frost Kiss series, we're actually planning to introduce a couple more colors in the coming years, but we're starting off with white. And we have found this to be a really great performer in the landscape. So, a lot of times, Helleborus can look great on a bench or have a really cool color to it, and then you plant it in the landscape and some of the more interesting colors aren't as vigorous and things like that. So we found that these have done really well in the landscape. They have a nice kind of, you can see it a little bit there, like a mottled marbled foliage. So the green evergreen foliage kind of has some silvery or even some yellowy into it to help differentiate it from some of the other Helleborus a little bit. But then the number of flowers is excellent on these plants. So Molly's White is a nice clear white flower. Doesn't, not maybe as upright as Ivory Prince, but definitely more upright than a lot of the varieties we're used to seeing. So you can see those flowers a lot better. And the benefit of these two is they bloom in the first year. So that's also why, Helleborus can be such a long crop because many of them don't bloom until the second year. And so these bloom right away. We found them to be very, again, vigorous and hardy in the landscape. They fill out nice and quickly. So we've been really, really pleased with these and are excited to introduce these. So these are zones 5 through 8. You can see that they'll be about 12 to 18 inches tall and wide. So nothing too crazy. I know like Royal Heritage is a seed variety, but that one can get pretty big, about 24 inches tall and wide. So this is a nice and compact and showy plant. So again, really looking forward to this Frost Kiss Helleborus series.
Okay, the next plant is HOSTA, Shadowland's Diamond Lake. And I think, there are a lot of HOSTA on the market and we're always trialing them, or we'll take a trip up to Walters because they do a lot of HOSTA breeding up there. And I think whenever we're trying to introduce a new HOSTA, we want to make sure that it's different enough from the ones that we carry. And with Diamond Lake, we definitely saw enough difference, enough interest in the plant that we thought it would be a great one to add to our regular line. We had this one in our Bud and Bloom program for a couple of years before we decided to introduce it just into our general availability. What's really striking about this plant is the hosta doesn't get very tall, but it stays pretty low to the ground and it can get fairly wide. It can spread about 4 feet. The other really interesting thing is the leaf can get very, very large. So one leaf, you know, can get about 9 inches to 11 inches. So very striking. And it has kind of very deep venation in the leaf with kind of a wavy edge. So just a really interesting kind of striking looking hosta, different from the other blue hostas that we sell. And I think the biggest difference would be that long kind of elongated leaf shape and then the wavy edges. You know, hostas in general are really great because they attract hummingbirds. So if you guys are into that, any hosta will do, but this one will definitely attract hummingbirds as well. And very exciting, this is actually the 2022 Proven Winners Hosta of the Year. So I think Proven Winners does a really nice job kind of promoting different plants every year. And they have a hosta of the year, perennial of the year, rose of the year, hydrangea of the year, all these plants of the year. And Diamond Lake is going to be our hosta of the year. We love to see this plant partnered with other hostas, heucheras, ferns, kind of the sky's the limit for shade gardening. I am a huge shade gardening enthusiast, and this one definitely brings a lot of color to the garden. So definitely try this one out. Again, this one's available now as well, so you can get some on your spring order.
All right, so next up we have Hosta Sunmouse, and this is a great little mini hosta. We've been looking for a kind of chartreuse addition to the mini hostas we carry already. So this is a sport off of blue mouse ears, which is one of the other varieties that we carry. But again, you know, while that one is kind of the frosted blue foliage, this is again that nice chartreuse foliage. So these are nice thick leaves, kind of heart-shaped, so emerge a yellowish color and then hold that pretty well through the season. Doesn't have a lot of issue with burning. This one is a little bit shorter and wider than blue mouse ears, if you're familiar with how that one grows. And then this one also has nice lavender flowers midsummer. So again, this is part of our mini hosta line, so we grow those in pints. So we have about 5 or maybe 6 varieties now, but we really think this is a good addition to the ones that we carry, and we are expecting availability of this one in May.
Okay, next plant is actually an improvement on one that we already carry. So if you guys have tried LEUCANTHEMUM banana cream, this is just simply an improved variety out of Walters. So the LEUCANTHEMUM banana cream too, also a proven winner perennial. So what's really nice, I think, about the programs that Walters and Proven Winners do is they're always trying to kind of get that next best plant. And even the genetics that they bring to market, they're still continually trying to get plants with better flower retention or better flower color or just overall better performance in the garden. So that's what we're seeing with this plant. So it's definitely a bit more floriferous and it holds its yellow color longer. So banana cream, one of the issues with the original was, you know, the plants would come out with this really nice kind of light yellow color, but they would fade to white pretty quickly. And the whole kind of claim to fame of this plant was it had that more yellow color. So this one will definitely hold that yellow color longer. It definitely flowers a little bit earlier than the original banana cream as well, and it has a tighter habit. So you can see from that photo, and I've seen these plants in person up at Walters too, it definitely has a very nice compact habit, and the flowers really do a nice job covering that plant. It sustains its really long bloom time through the summer, especially if grown in a really nice kind of drier, sunny location. And dry is really important for LEUCANTHEMUM. So they like a well-drained soil. They do not like to sit in water. And again, they cannot be sited in a location that might sit in a more wet soil over the winter. They will rot and die. So, and that's not just with banana cream, that's kind of with all LEUCANTHEMUM. You can see that issue. So On this plant too, if you really want to promote blooming, you can deadhead it. Now, I know not everybody has the time to do that, but if you had a client that just really loved the blooms, you can perpetually deadhead and it will lengthen the amount of time this plant flowers. So that's Leucanthemum banana cream 2, and we should have some of these available in May.
Okay, so next we have TRICYRTIS Autumn Glow. And I don't think, you see a new TRICYRTIS introduced very often. So we are, again, excited about this one. This we've been trialing for probably about, five, almost 6 years now, I would say. And we're really excited when we saw it. And it's a great, I would say, almost HOSTA alternative. I'm not sure that that's necessary, I guess, because they're both more shade garden plants, but just again, a nice foliage for the shade landscape, with that green, with the gold margin, really interesting and a little smaller than a typical hosta leaf. These do get pretty decent size, so about 24 inches tall and 24 to 36 inches wide. But then the benefit of that cool TRICYRTIS toad lily flower in the fall. So you see the close up of the flower there in the corner, and just kind of the typical flower. If you're familiar with gilt edge, I believe it's similar to that plant, but it has the golden margin to it. So this one, like I said, we've had in our trial garden for several years. We actually planted it first in 2017, and it did not overwinter for us, but it was planted in September. So I kind of think that probably had something to do with it, that it was planted so late in the season, because we planted some again in May of 2018, and they have grown just fine ever since. So I think giving them a little bit of time to establish throughout the growing season and help kind of get their roots in there was good. It definitely is a slower grower, so it takes a little time to beef up to size. But now, like I said, it is a really nice full plant and has overwintered just fine for us the past couple of years. So looking forward, to having this other shade option available besides hostas. So this one is available, and we're expecting it available in May. All right, so we are done with our perennials section. So we're going to do our next poll here. So since we have quite a few options in this section, you can go ahead and choose 3 that you are most excited about.
Maybe we can answer a couple of your questions on here. So Shannon, do you know, does the Aquilegia have leaf miner problems? I'm not sure we saw that, but
I don't think we've seen any of that to this point. I know then there was also a question about if it's a biennial. Honestly, we just haven't had it in the ground long enough to see. So we'll continue to monitor if it's kind of like other Aquilegia in that regard.
okay, and then Hosta Diamond Lake, they advertise it as deer resistant. Now we haven't seen any browsing yet on that plant, but Hosta deer do like Hosta, so if they're hungry enough, they might eat it, but it's advertised as more deer resistant, which sometimes the leaves with the more kind of glaucous overtone don't get munched on quite as much, but. And then,
yes.
Do we know about the TRICYRTIS? Is that deer resistant?
So it is not listed as such. We have not seen, we do have deer around the St. Charles property. We haven't seen any issues with it. That being said, it's planted around the patio. So it's not someplace they typically really come to unless they're super hungry. But we have not seen any issue with it at this point.
All right, and then banana cream, does it get mold? So Leucanthemum are more susceptible to getting foliar diseases, especially if it gets really like humid and there's a lot of rain. The best thing you can do is just give those plants a little bit of breathing room like Monarda, so we're not don't maybe pack those quite as closely together, because that's when you see those foliar issues more. But yeah, if the conditions are right, some of these plants are just more susceptible to those things. So, but it is an improved variety, so you shouldn't see as much of that on the plant. And then the Shadowlands hosta, the Diamond Lake, that one is actually slug resistant. So when you have highly corrugated leaves on hostas, or that, again, glaucous covering, you do tend to have more slug resistance.
A couple more questions on the Tricertis. Tricertis for dark shade. I think foliage wise, I think it'll do just fine. You probably won't see the same flower performance maybe. And then does it tolerate dry shade? I would say the place that we have it planted is pretty dry. It's again around a patio under a crabapple. We don't supplementally water our gardens unless we're in like a horrible drought. So I would say it would do fine in dry shade.
And I know somebody did make the comments about if it grows faster than the variegated Solomon seal, maybe slightly, but I think they're pretty similar, but this is a great substitution for it. I think variegated Solomon seal has been harder to find in the trade as of recently. And I know we've been having trouble kind of sourcing it. So this is actually a great substitute, I think, for that as well.
We've also had some questions on the Spigelia about hardiness and overwintering. So it is hardy to zone 5B, which is where we are in Chicago. We actually, the little redhead, we have not had in our garden, so we will need to get that in there this summer. We do have Ragin' Cajun in our trial garden, which is kind of I would say maybe a sister plant to this one. And that has been fine so far. So again, we'll kind of continue to monitor those and how long they last for. All right, I think we're caught up, right?
Yep.
Okay. So then we are going to get into deciduous shrubs and vines. Jamie, if we could, thank you. So our first shrub is Buddleia PUGSTER pinker. So this is part of the Proven Winners series, and you're probably familiar with the PUGSTERs at this point. Jamie, can we get the slide forward? Thanks. So there are several colors in the PUGSTER series. So this is an improvement on PUGSTER pink, which I think is actually a good thing, because the one complaint I had when they introduced all the colors is there were a few of them that were very similar to the point where it was hard to tell the difference. I think pink and periwinkle maybe were the two that were the closest. So this pinker is a deeper, bolder pink. So I think that's good to differentiate a little bit. And so otherwise, this is going to be the same as all those others in the series. So a nice compact Buddleia, still with the big bloom. So a lot of times when you see those smaller Buddleia, they also kind of have teeny tiny, like bottle brush flowers. So the PUGSTER series still has the nice full-size Buddleia flowers, just on a more compact plant. So these are going to top out about 2 feet tall, maybe get slightly wider than that, and then have a great bloom time through the summer and into fall. Pretty continuous blooming, again, the nice fragrance that you typically see in Buddleia. So again, just a nice addition to the PUGSTER line. And we are expecting these to be available in May. So Buddleia PUGSTER pinker.
Okay, the next plant is actually another one that we had carried for a number of years in our Bud and Bloom program, which goes to independent garden centers. And we all just thought that it was such a good, strong, vigorous performer. So we decided to add it. So CLEMATIS Happy Jack Purple is new to all of our customers. So this one is an improved Jackmania, if you guys have ever used that. So it's definitely more of a vigorous plant, has larger flowers and a much longer flowering time. So this plant's going to flower from about midsummer to fall, and that picture is pretty accurate to the number of blooms you're going to get. So very, very floriferous, blooms on old and new wood, which is awesome. So we do recommend that, you know, for a really robust kind of thick plant, especially if you're trellising it, to cut this plant back to about 2 feet in the spring, in the early spring, and then let it reflush. And again, you'll get a nice heavy bloom set. Like other clematis, they do like, you'll hear cool feet, which means they like their root system to be on the cooler side. They don't like their roots sitting in full sun. So it is recommended to lightly mulch this plant, or if you can plant like a shrub that will provide some root shade for this guy, it will perform better. But really nice improved Jack Manii, and again called Happy Jack, and we should have this one in spring.
All right, so next we have COTINUS WINECRAFT Gold, and this is part of the Proven Winners program as well. And this is a nice complement plant to COTINUS WINECRAFT Black. So we introduced that variety a couple years ago. We were very excited about it because the great thing about both these WINECRAFT COTINUS is the form that they take on. So, you know, the old school kind of royal purple smoke bush, they can be super leggy, kind of irregular forms where you kind of have branches going out everywhere and not very dense in the middle. And so that has been the great improvement on these WINECRAFT COTINUS, that they are a nice, well-branched, dense plant, a nice regular habit, so you don't kind of have that oddball stickiness of the old COTINUS varieties. So whereas WINECRAFT Black is also kind of an improved dark, you know, purple color. Obviously we have the gold here, so the leaves emerge a nice kind of orangey color and then get golden and then kind of mature out or level out for the season at a nice green chartreuse color. These also have the smoke plumes that you're used to seeing with smoke bush, so that's going to kind of be a greenish color and then age to pink. So really nice complement between the foliage and the flowers on the plant. The golden foliage also does have good burn resistance to it. Sometimes on chartreuse plants we see, you know, a lot of they can burn in the sun, but this one does pretty well in full sun. And we are expecting these to be available in May. So COTINUS WINECRAFT Gold.
Yeah, and a few questions on that one with the leaf burn and fall color. Honestly, we have not seen a lot of leaf burn. I think we've all been really surprised by that. So in production, we have not seen much leaf burn at all. And then it does get nice fall color. So it'll get more tones of like orange, I would say, is kind of the probably most color that you see once the temperatures get cooler. But, you know, it'll keep that kind of yellow orangey color, but decent fall color. Next one is Hydrangea Paniculata Firelight Tidbit. So if you guys are familiar with Firelight, this is the dwarf version. And the claim to fame with Firelight is its really intense red flower colors as the flowers change color in the late summer, early fall. So again, this is probably one of Proven Winner's shortest paniculatas that they've put out on the market. So similar to Bobo, but this one actually, I think it's a little bit shorter even than Bobo. So Proven Winner says, which we haven't tried yet, but you can interplant it with perennials because it gets so short, only gets about 2 to 3 feet tall and wide. So really compact hydrangea, but it does get loaded with flowers. And I think, again, like Bobo, the plant is just completely covered with those really nice panicle blooms in the summer and fall. And again, the flower color, it starts to flower starts to color up from the base up. And you'll start to see this, you know, when we kind of get into the later summer, early fall months, maybe when we have warmer days, cooler nights, the flowers will start to show that really deep, rich red color, which is really beautiful. Let's see here. Oh, and I found this pretty awesome. You know, paniculatas, they can have okay fall color, but it's not really, you know, anything to write home about. But this one actually gets really fantastic fall color. So you'll see the foliage on this plant kind of turn to that, you know, purpley orange color as the temperatures get cooler. So kind of added benefit, you have the really nice flower color, and you got really nice foliage color later in the season as well. So we should have some of these available in May.
Okay, so next we have Limelight Prime Hydrangea Paniculata, also part of Proven Winners. I am sure you are all familiar with Limelight. Could you not be in this industry at this point? So, Limelight was a great plant when it was introduced, and it still is a solid performer, but there are definitely things that I'm sure we've all started to see as you plant it. I feel like sometimes there can be variation between the plants where sometimes you get a nice, sturdy, durable plant, and sometimes it's just kind of droopy and floppy and can't really support the flowers. That the foliage sometimes can be a little bit on the, not chlorotic side, but the lighter green side, just not like a really tough, durable foliage. So there are definitely improvements that could have been made, that can be made to this plant since it was introduced. So that is where Limelight Prime comes in. So this is just an improved version of Limelight. So you can kind of see in the picture there, I think it's pretty obvious just from that, but you have a nice darker green foliage, just a healthier, sturdier, looking leaf, more durable stems, thicker stems that are going to hold up those flowers better, and then a little bit earlier bloom time than Limelight itself. So the flowers emerge kind of the same lime green color and will hold that color for a period and then kind of go to the blush of Limelight. But I would say these get a little bit darker pink color than the original Limelights did. So more into kind of like a punch pink color than that blush or medium pink that the original got. And then these are also going to be just a little bit more compact. So whereas Limelights probably get about 6 to 8 feet tall, these are gonna top out a little bit lower. So hopefully a little less pruning and containment that you need to do with this plant. So these are still nice and hardy like Limelights were, and we are expecting these to be available in June. So Hydrangea Paniculata, Limelight Prime.
Another Hydrangea Paniculata, when does it end? We wonder the same thing sometimes. There's so much breeding still being done on Hydrangea Paniculata, and we want to say no, but then, we're like, oh, people are probably going to want this. So we're just bringing you guys all the Hydrangea Paniculatas. So this one is Little Lime Punch, which is very similar to Little Lime, but an improved variety. So it has that really nice lime color as the flowers emerge, just like Limelight, but where this plant is just a little bit better than Limelight is its flower color again in the fall. And I think that's what the breeders were really focusing on with a lot of these plants was, better habit, more compact, more flowers, and better flower color. So a lot of these new varieties, you're going to see those different attributes. And on this one, you can see from that inset photo that the flower color really is, they kind of compare it to Hawaiian Punch, the drink, and it definitely looks that way. So what's really cool with this plant too is at times, like right when the flowers are starting to transition, because it's so floriferous and it keeps pushing new blooms, you're going to have a plant with white flowers, green flowers, and these dark red flowers. So kind of looks really visually interesting. But again, this deep red flower color is probably going to be one of the best that we're going to see. So a little bit of height variation on this one, anywhere from 3 to 5 feet tall and wide. But, a really nice, I think, addition to the line. And just a reminder on any Hydrangea Paniculatas, they bloom on old wood, they bloom on new wood. So you can do a nice pruning to these to keep them nice and compact for good body. So, in late winter, early spring, you guys can cut these back down by about 1/3, again, to keep them nice and compact, and they'll still be super floriferous. So again, they bloom on new wood, so don't be afraid to do some pruning in late winter, early spring. And Hydrangea Little Lime Punch, we should have some available for you guys in May this year.
Okay, so next we have, I think, our last hydrangea, right? Yes, Hydrangea Paniculata Quickfire Fab. Yes, The hydrangeas are a little bit crazy this year. But this is a nice addition. So before you even ask, I know it's going to be a question is, are we getting rid of quickfire? You're not getting rid of quickfire. That is not our plan right now. At this point, you know, the shrub breeder for Proven Winners has said that we are still able to carry quickfire, and that is our intention. So, you know, sometimes those things change and we'll just have to see how it goes. But we want to carry quickfire. It is one of my favorite paniculatas. And while, you know, this new plant has the quickfire name, I totally understand that if you're looking for that more lacy type flower, that this is not the same. I am in 100% agreement. So, so the reason that this bears the quickfire name is because it has that early bloom and early coloration like quickfire does. So that's why they've chosen to kind of pair it together with this. So it has that same timing as quickfire, but with this bigger, showier mop head bloom. So this is going to be the earliest mop head panicle hydrangea on the market. So, you know, earlier color in the landscape, earlier color if you're a garden center, you know, the sooner you can get the paniculatas on your bench, the better. So this is a nice, again, as we've talked about with most of these varieties, you know, bred for strong stems that are able to hold up that nice big flower. This does get a little bigger than some of the other ones, so it'll be more the typical quickfire size at 6 to 8 feet tall and a little bit narrower. So this actually is even a little bit earlier than quickfire is when it comes into flower, and then it comes into that pinkish color. So, you know, try it out, see what you think. But again, if you're kind of a quickfire purist, we will still have that one available. So quickfire fab.
All right, we have 2 plants left for you guys. So if you have any additional questions, make sure to get those into the Q&A so we can get those answered for you guys once we get through the rest of the shrubs. So the next one we have is Salix flamingo. And this one's actually pretty similar to Salix Hakuru Nishiki, if you guys are familiar with that one. So it gets that kind of nice dappled color with pinks and whites on the tips of especially the newer growth. But, you know, adds really kind of nice color in the landscape. We think the color is a little bit stronger on this one, which is kind of why we want to transition to flamingo over Hakuru Nishiki. And the stem color actually is a little bit nicer on this one too. So it gets really nice dark red, shiny stems that add a lot of winter interest. Like other Salix, this one can take some wetter conditions, so you guys can plant it in wetter areas or near pond edges. And the other nice thing with this plant is it is a bit more heat resistant. So when you have, you know, variegated plants or plants with white edges, a lot of times if it gets really hot in the summer in full sun, you'll see some leaf burn. You don't see that as much on this plant. So it really holds its color. And if you want to promote more of that pink and white color, you can do light shearings throughout the season to promote more growth. Like a lot of Salix, they grow really fast and they grow throughout the season. So again, if you want to keep promoting that kind of nice fresh foliage, just do a light shearing to help it hold its shape and to promote that color. Otherwise, I think that's about it. And we do have this one available now, so give it a try.
So our last plant for the day is WEIGELA Maroon Swoon, and this is out of the Bloomin' Easy program. So I think this is our 6th plant maybe as part of that program. So we are continuing to you know, try their plants and see how they perform, and we've been liking a lot of what we're seeing. So this Maroon Swoon, I'm really excited about it because, to be honest, I'm not super crazy about the red color on most of the WEIGELA on the market. Kind of that cherry red color just isn't a big draw for me. So when we saw this plant in the trial houses, I think a lot of us just really loved how this is a different red color, a much richer, deeper, you know, as it says in the name, maroon color. So just a really nice different color for the WEIGELA, the red WEIGELA that you typically see. And so this is a great, fragrant flower, good for pollinators if, you're trying to promote that in your landscapes. And then it has a nice size as well. So kind of 4 to 5 feet tall and wide, a nice rounded form, and nice green foliage that will contrast against those dark red flowers. So we are expecting this one to be ready in May. So WEIGELA maroon swoon. So with that, we have our last poll. And again, since we have quite a few shrubs, if you want to pick your top 3, we are excited to see what they are. For those, just a reminder then on the, for those of you that are interested in getting CEU credits, the test will be emailed to you. So I think it's set to go out around 11 o'clock. So if you are planning to do that, please make sure you check your email. And if you don't see it in your email, check your spam, because sometimes it does go to there. So again, if you're looking for CEUs, check your email.
Yeah, and then we can just wrap up with the few questions that we have left. Oh, first, we'll look at the results.
Yeah.
Firelight tidbit, interesting.
Yeah. COTINUS, yes, we think, and we did have a question too, if you didn't see the answer. Are we planning on carrying COTINUS golden spirit? Again, we are not. We just feel that WINECRAFT gold is a better plant than golden spirit. So that is what we have switched to.
For sure. Yeah, that question on the SALIX flamingo too, if it's it has a native parent, I believe not. I think it's
off Hakuro Nishiki.
Yes. So not a native, but still a good plant. And then how does the WEIGELA compare to red prints? I would definitely say it's an improvement. So
yeah, better form and a darker color.
Yeah, for sure. And then a question on BUDDLEIA longevity and hardiness. So I think we've actually seen BUDDLEIA can be tricky up here, but I think we have seen better success in particular with the PUGSTER series. They've been just a hardier, better plant. So I'm not sure if anybody's particularly tried those, but you might want to give those a shot. Shannon, I don't know if you have any other comments.
No, I mean, I would say, of course, like you said, BUDDLEIA can have issues. So I guess hedge your bets a little bit. Don't plant it too late in the season. I would say that's definitely not a plant to be planting in like October. Make sure you're planting them earlier in the season. A little bit of mulch probably doesn't hurt them as compared to some other things. So. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, with that, we'll make sure to wrap up on time here. So thank you guys so much for coming today. We'll be doing a couple other webinars this winter. So we have one in February and one in March, and you can sign up for those. We'll be doing one on carex, and then we'll be doing one on native plants for the residential landscape. And if any of you guys were at Invigorate U, it'll be the same presentation, just to let you know. So, and we wanted to thank all of you guys as well for your $10 donation. We know last year these webinars were free, but we really wanted to make sure that we could give back to the organizations that support our industry, and we thought this would be a great way to do so. So thank you for that, and just know that that money is going straight to our industry organizations. And then again, like Shannon said, you're going to get a email after this. There's going to be a survey, and there's also going to be the CEU questions. So please take the survey. Please let us know how we're doing and give us ideas for other topics, because we want to continue to, educate you guys on what you're interested in knowing. And then my final marketing plug is to please make sure to follow us on Instagram and YouTube. We'll be posting things like this on both of those sites. Shannon and I do bi-weekly garden walks to show you guys what's going on in the garden. So a lot of good content on both places, and we are putting fresh content on there at all times. So thank you again so much, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.